I have a confession to make, and I will admit that in a minute, I promise. But first, I want to tell you about a little gift I have for you at the end of this video, so be sure to stick around for that. Now back to that confession. Here it is. I forget about 75% of the personal and professional development things I learn. Honestly, I read a book and might think how helpful it is, but then I never actually do anything with it. A few weeks later, it's forgotten. I listen to a podcast, feel enlightened and motivated, and then poof, gone. I was going over the list I keep of development books I've read this year, and I couldn't tell you about the majority of them. I think about application a lot, and it's time to find out a way to make it work. So I've created the A.P.P.L.Y framework. Have you wasted time reading books that you forget about? If you want the things you learn to actually make a difference in your life, stick around. Part 1 is A for analysis. All right, so here's another confession. I'm kind of a nerd. I'm brilliant. Shh. Now might also be a good time to tell you I'm a little weird. I usually get to know people a little better before letting the weird out. I gotta make sure they can handle it. But then I'm a little boring and, well, I'd like you to hang around for a bit. So if you're here for the weird, you're my crew. If you just want the knowledge, I bring that too. That right. Anywho, when my nerdy self was finishing up my doctorate, I became pretty intense about something. That something is the first part of the A.P.P.L.Y framework, analysis. And hear me out, because I know analysis sounds boring. I thought so too, until I got so deep into it and my walls looked like a murder board on a crime procedural show. Honestly, analyzing every nonfiction book or podcast I listen to sounds miserable. But you don't have to do the intense murder board analysis for this to work. You just have to organize some notes. Oh, you don't take notes? Well, this is awkward. Okay, so first, you have to be the kind of reader who takes notes. If you aren't finding anything in the books you're reading worth taking notes on, here's some of my favorites. There are links in the description box below if you'd like to check them out, but I also have to tell you, I encourage shopping local if at all possible. Alright, so when you take notes, you want to hit all the main points in your notes, but also be sure to make note of those little golden nuggets that would never make it into the synopsis. Which brings me to another tip. If you read a book last week that you'd like to analyze but don't want to do a full reread, consider using ChatGPT to give you the bullet points. When I was looking at my list of read books for the year, I couldn't remember what most of them were. Of course, I'm not going to reread the entire list. Instead, I went to ChatGPT and said, summarize the main points of When by Daniel Pink, to which the AI generated a list of notes for me. It generated the core idea, 6 main points, and a final takeaway. At this point, you might be wondering, what is the point of reading if we can just get the shortened, no-fluff version for free? Well, I guess you could do that, but also, as I said before, there are little golden nuggets in the text that you miss out on if you skip the book itself. When you analyze, remember to include everything that felt important to you. Break down what you just learned. What are the key takeaways? What stood out or challenged your current thinking? You can answer these questions by considering 3 things. What was the main idea? What are the key facts, concepts, or quotes? What problems or needs does this learning address? Do this and you've analyzed. Bam! You're brilliant. After analysis in the A.P.P.L.Y framework, you move to part 2, personalize. I know my channel is still new, but there's something that you should know about me. I believe that everyone was made differently. We all learn differently, we progress differently, we think differently, we have different jobs, roles, dreams, and aspirations. So it is ineffective to act as though the same exact process is going to work for everyone. This is why we personalize. Make it relevant to you. How does the information apply to your life, business, goals, or current season? Ask yourself these 3 questions to help personalize what you're learning. Does this connect to anything you're currently working on or struggling with? What insight speaks to your personal or professional journey? Is there a mindset shift needed? The first 2 questions are pretty straightforward, right? But that mindset shift question could probably use some explaining. Have you ever learned something and then thought, that doesn't really apply to me, or maybe I couldn't do that? Personally, I struggle with imposter syndrome, which I think is somewhat common. I literally have a doctorate degree and over 10 years of business experience, and I wonder if I really know what I'm doing. So when I listen to a podcast that talks about implementing new things, I must shift my mindset to think about what I have already accomplished and how I can accomplish even more. Adding that component, shifting my mindset, to the information I'm hearing allows me to personalize what I'm learning. So ask yourself, what would I need to believe to be able to fully apply this learning? Part 3 is my favorite step in the A.P.P.L.Y framework, plan. My inner weirdo is really peeking out now because I love to plan. Any other planners out there? Hit the subscribe button and that little bell if you can relate. At this step in the framework, you've already analyzed the new information. You've made it personal. Now you have to decide how you're going to implement it. So get out your planner. I want you to think of one thing, just one thing that you can do to implement the new knowledge. What does this look like? Let's say you just read, analyzed, and personalized the book When by Daniel Pink. In the book, he talks about how most people actually thrive in the morning and get more accomplished in the morning hours. You typically spend your mornings doing the easy work and then drag in the afternoons while you do the hard things. Tomorrow, you've changed up your schedule. You're going to do the hard tasks in the morning and save the easy things for when you're drained in the afternoon. That's your plan. And when you've planned, you'll move to part 4 and live it. You've planned out how to apply your newfound knowledge. Now you have to actually take action and do it. Cross it off your to-do list, put it into practice however you want to say it. The important thing is that you actually perform the thing you said you would. But even more than just doing it, you have to test it out in real life. Recently, this was my miracle morning. Like the book by Hal Elrod, I read the book and then I had to try it out. And here I am a handful of weeks later and I'm still doing it. So go ahead and get started. Apply it to a client situation, a business system, or a daily habit. Journal the outcome or track the progress. And be okay with experimenting and tweaking it. Adding something new to your life or routine might not feel perfect, but living it doesn't mean it has to stay exactly the same forever. It's your life, so make the changes as needed. That's part of the final component, part 5, yield. The word yield has a few different definitions. One is to produce or provide, to deliver a result. Another is to surrender, wave the white flag. It can also mean to profit. And each of these definitions plays a role in yield. You have to evaluate the results and reflect on the fruit of your action. What result was delivered? Do you need to surrender and let this idea go, or will you profit from following through? Examining these questions helps you understand how to move forward. So remember, when you yield, consider these things. What changed? What worked? What didn't? How did it impact your mindset, relationships, business, or beliefs? Do you need to repeat, refine, or release this idea? Do these things and you've completed apply. You've gotten value from a book, podcast, or video that you may have otherwise forgotten. And I'll do you one better. The gift I was talking about at the beginning of the video, you can download a worksheet with this framework outlined so that you can use it next time you're learning. The link for that is in the description box below. So what are you going to do with the information presented in this video? Are you going to forget it? Or will you apply the knowledge of the A.P.P.L.Y framework? The choice is yours. All right, weirdos, that's the video. Catch up with you later.